Love listening to the Blue Monday podcast? Well, your support is very much appreciated, and for as long as we're producing this podcast, we'll never charge you to listen to us. But if you do want to join others in supporting us financially, you can do just that via the Acast supporters feature. It's up to you how much or how little you want to give, and there is no regular commitment. Just hit the link in the show description. The money you donate may or may not be put towards Joe Fair's football shirt collection. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, now in our sixth season, looking at the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Richard Woodward, and joining me tonight for the main show, he's kept his shirt, he's managed to keep in the selection for 2 weeks running, David Diamond, and taking advantage of maybe some training ground shenanigans. No, he's always first on the team sheet as well. Craig Fimbo. Gentlemen, new season's greetings to you. Craig, first let's start with you. How are you? Happy new season.
Yeah, and you? Very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, fully refreshed. Didn't suffer any knocks during leading up to the match. So yeah, all good, all fit and raring to go.
Still looking nice and trim, you know.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes, it's a bit of a struggle over the summer, to be honest. Got to get back on the bike, I think, for the autumn when the rain starts and things like that. But no, it's been okay. Been out in the sunshine a bit recently.
Very good. And Dave, still fit, you know, two appearances in a week, you know.
Yeah, good, isn't it? Two in a week. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, all good, really. Been out and about, playing a bit of golf, and back on the like Craig said, back on the bike. So yeah, all good.
Excellent stuff. Well, we've got plenty to talk about tonight, gentlemen. We'll jump straight into the news, shall we? Because I think we've got a couple of questions about this anyway, but I kind of feel we need to dive straight into this kind of pantomime around Flynn Downs. Will he stay? Won't he stay? I don't know whether you heard any of Paul Lambert's post-match today. I'll read you some quotes from it, but this is kind of bizarre stuff, and this is kind of we politely refer to Paul Lambert as PR Paul, but I'm not sure what he was talking about here, and it kind of confuses me. So I hope maybe you can bring some clarity for me and some of our listeners. So Lambert says the situation with midfielder Downs is the same as it was, which I think is his head had been turned by interest, and he was aware of the situation with the bids from Palace, but the bids from Palace were clearly not good enough, and the guys talked about that last week. But left out of the 18 today and asked whether Downs wanted to play. Here's the quote. So I won't do the accent. I'll be affectionate to it. The kid's brain was fried by the Palace thing, and that ain't ever going to happen until Marcus Evans says there's a really good bid there. I would drive Flynn myself because the guy's done great for me. He's done absolutely brilliant. The kid's head is all over the place. He's training, so he's back obviously from his 3 days of getting his head right. The guys at the minute, so the guys at the minute are playing fabulously well. So that's the team. I don't know what will happen with Flynn, whether he goes or whether he stays. I really don't know. As I said before, I think he's been badly advised on a lot of things. It's not his fault. My job is his welfare, which is why I let him out for a few days. He's training, but that's where it is. Did he want to play in the game today? He was asked. How did you take your decision not to include him in the 18? I don't know. I don't know if he wanted to play. I don't know, to be honest with you. Craig, where do you start with there? Is Downs leaving? Was he dropped today, or is his head not right? Your interpretation of all of that nonsense.
Well, first and foremost, I don't think he's going to leave until such time as we get an appropriately sized bid, is he? You know, if Crystal Palace are going to come in with 1.5 million or 1.6 million, then that is derisory in the whole scheme of things. There's no point of selling it. It's not at a point where there's any interest to us to sell. obviously the communication strategy in place at Playford Rose is
I don't get it.
somewhat questionable. I don't know whether one party's waiting for the other party to make that phone call to start building some bridges again. But as we know, PR Paul isn't particularly going down the PR route, it would seem, this close season and this early season. So
with a tough love approach, you mean?
Yeah, very much so. So I know I know the guy spoke about it before about potentially Flynn being badly advised. I don't know if he's still being advised to carry on I'm not fit to, I'm not ready to be playing just yet sort of thing. We don't know, do we? We're not really hearing any sides of the story, so I think it's difficult for us to. We don't really want to be jumping to any conclusions and laying the blame at people's doors where we're not entirely sure what it is. But I think somebody somewhere along the line needs to be biting a bullet and eating a bit of humble pie and having a conversation with somebody. Surely, if the manager of the football club doesn't know that his star player does or doesn't want to play football on a Sunday lunchtime, I'd say that there's something needs to be done somewhere in that respect.
He's got history, Dave, of bombing players out of his squads. I think Darren Bent got the treatment at Villa when he wanted him to leave. Do you if he's training and he's fit, is he in your 18 today? Is Lambert kind of trying to?
I was a bit surprised. I mean, Joe, when we spoke last week, Joe thought he'd come straight back in. Now I didn't think. I thought he'd been on the bench. I must admit, I was very surprised he was out of the 18. I think I WhatsApped Joe and said, "That's it then, Joe, isn't it? He's off. That's it. He's off." And I think what gets me with Downs is what constitutes a good bid and how you judge that. He doesn't score goals. He's a good midfield player, a very good season and a very poor side. I thought, ultimately how the season panned out last season. Doesn't score goals. So what is his true value? Is he a 4 million player? I don't think so. And I think if Palace came in with something like, I don't know, maybe 2.5 million, I think he's off. He's gone. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And they probably afford to do that, but I don't know. Clearly, his head has been turned somewhat, and I think it was quite a good move of Lambert. PR Paul, as you call him, to give the lad some time off because he is obviously a young lad.
Do you think that clubs looking in this from afar would look badly on Downs to be taking this course of action, having had a bid come in for him? I'm intrigued by that.
So I guess the question is what has happened here, because if Downs has come back in from his days of getting his head right, and Lambert has chosen not to pick him, but is now suggesting that his head still isn't right, and for his welfare, I've kept him out of the firing line.
He's only going to get back. He's only going to get back in the team by he has to perform well in training and somehow force his way back in the team. What will be a bit of a pointer to me will be this coming midweek if he plays against Fulham. If he's not in the squad against Fulham, because surely he wasn't in the squad today. If he's training fully fit, surely he'll play against Fulham. I would have thought. If he doesn't play against Fulham, then I would think, he's going, and we're just waiting for Palace to up the ante. Perhaps a game of bluff there, but it's a strange one. And has he done himself any favours? Obviously, he wants to move to the Premier League. For goodness' sake, who wouldn't? The riches that there are, but.
Now, are Palace coming back in for him?
Well, who knows, isn't it?
Who knows? That might be it. That might well be. Is 1.6. Take it or leave it. I will leave it. That's gone. Done. Who knows?
Yeah. Do they come back in with something just slightly, which isn't over the 2 million mark, but because of this kind of acrimonious relationship now between Downs and Lambert,
then he's forced his hand and he's gone.
We've got no choice but to accept it. No. Maybe that happens. I mean, Mouth 11 at Mouth, 112. Is Downs done? If he's not able to play, does the club have to accept any bid in the region of 2 to 2.5 million? Are we that's what you suggested, Dave?
I would say yes.
Is that Craig? Are you agreeing with that as well?
Yeah.
Or are you holding out for your 4 million, 3.5 million? Maybe?
He doesn't score goals. He's not. For me, he needs more. For a League One player to go from there, yes, very good player, but to go from there at that value, at that 3.5, 4 million value. Sorry, he's got to score goals as well. He's got to add that to his game as well, and he doesn't.
He's worth more to us than than these figures that are being bandied around. But there will come a point in time where the move will happen if they come back in. That's what I'm just going to go back to. Is are they going to come back in for him?
We shall see. The window closes start of October, doesn't it? I think.
I think
So plenty of more weeks of pantomime fun for all of us to endure. But I've been pretty consistent on this one, and I think, League One recalibrates should recalibrate our expectations on the amounts that we can get and the likelihood of players leaving to go somewhere else.
Especially to the Premier League.
To Premier League, even to be loaned back to the Championship, and I think possibly, this has got a few runs, a bit to run yet, and I think we might be a bit disappointed at how this has played out in a few weeks' time. Sadly,
we perhaps might see.
We shall see. But one midfielder who's hopefully hanging around for a bit longer and has the opportunity maybe to take a midfield space that might be vacated by Flynn Downs is Brett McGavin, who put pen to paper on a 2-year deal with the club with an option, as we typically do, for another season. He's made his league debut, albeit curtailed league debut.
Truncated.
Didn't he? Yeah.
Home to Fleetwood last season. But good news, guys. I haven't seen a great deal of him. I didn't go to any of the EFL Trophy matches, and I didn't even bother with the iFollow for Fleetwood last season. I knew how that was going to end up. But positive news and potential. It sounded like Lambert expects him to go out on loan, guys. Do you agree with that one, Dave? As he grouped him with Ilmazuni and Dobra?
Yeah, I mean, those two surprised me, really. And I thought, especially, I know Joe feels about this, especially Ilmazuni, and I know he's obviously a big champion of Dobra as well, but I'd have thought those two perhaps would have been pushing, especially with perhaps Downs ultimately on the way out, that those two would really be, pushing for a squad place. But but certainly McGavin, I'd have thought is another, further down the line. So it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up on loan. I mean, he showed promise I haven't really seen a lot of him, but he showed promise in that first half of the Fleetwood game. A couple of times, I think he got dispossessed and stuff, which probably led to him getting the hook at half time. But it seemed like he gets his head up, can play. Looks a decent prospect. So let's hope that that bears fruit for us, really.
Is he a similar player to Downs, Craig? Do you reckon, or is he a bit more creative? I don't know.
He's more of a sitter.
More of a sitter, passer from deep. Is what I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
there's impression.
There's certainly enough traffic ahead of him, isn't there? I
was going to say we've got a shed load of injuries, but none of them in the kind of midfield area at the moment. So
no.
Well, we'll see. I'll knock on wood for you there. We don't want an injury crisis there, but you're thinking Craig alone there probably. He's only 20, isn't he? So
I think as Dave was talking about Dobra and Ilmazuni, I'm not averse to getting them out on loan. To be perfectly honest, I just think that the sheer size of the squad, and there's got to come a point in time whereby you have to assume that people like Alan Judge and Edwards and Nolan, whoever these guys are that are sitting in their positions at the moment, are going to produce the goods that we won't need to rely on 20-year-olds and 21-year-olds. You look at the bench today and the guys that were sitting in the stands, the squad's just huge, isn't it? And I'd rather, I don't know it's different to what Joe thinks, but I'd rather Dobra and Ilmazuni went out on loan, even if it's just to January. If you can get them a League Two loan to January and see where everyone's at in January, drag them back if needed at that point in that window.
Yeah, Mac enough on Sky was making a big. I think so was Paul Cook, who were sort of summarising in the studio, was making a big thing of just the example of our squad. Who they could. I know Wigan are in turmoil, but look at our bench. We brought on Hughes, Norwood, and Edwards. For goodness' sake, that the three of them would probably walk into most League One sides.
And then you scan through the stand, and there's
who weren't there.
Vincent Young sitting there chatting to Wolfenden, chatting to Jackson,
Lancaster. Yeah,
I was wondering whether there's more squad players sat in the stands than we've got those cardboard cutouts. It's getting close, isn't it?
I'm sure I saw one of. I'm sure that must have been. Did you see the one of Morrissey in the Cobbold stand? I'm sure that must have been one. Stats work. I'm sure that must have been.
There was an I Love Cole Scouse one as well.
Oh, I didn't see that one. Was it?
Down in the south zone, so it's a new game, isn't it? Spot the kind of there's a Boris Wood in there too, but good luck to Brett McGavin, and I think the loan at this age seems to make sense, and it worked for Wolfenden, and that's the kind of example I guess.
Luton. His father was a very good player.
Of course, Steve.
Yeah, very good.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. Let's move on to more recent things, guys. I've got a Wigan. I will now need the prefix Crisis Club Wigan. So I was thinking, is the initial CCW stand for anything offensive or some internet thing that I don't know about? So in Twitter, go for it. If I've got something hideously offensive with CCW, then apologies for that in advance. Apologies if you're offended. That's the way to do an apology. Let me just take you through the situation for Wigan here, because this is important context. Kind of officially finished the season in 13th position. Pretty impressive turnaround to their form. I think they went one game, got a run of one win in 15 or something at some point, but managed to get up to 13th place, finished the season in 13th.
Great run.
And then all of this kind of shenanigans off the field, as it typically tends to do at the moment, kicks off. They have a 12-point deduction, which relegates them. On the 1st of August, Paul Cook resigns as manager. They have sold, since that relegation, Kiefer Francesco Roberto Dudley Moore to Cardiff, Anthony Robinson to Fulham, who I think they had a deal in place for him possibly in January, maybe the window before, to something like 7 or 8 million, I think, to a Serie A club, and it fell through because of a failed medical, I think, and I think he went for a fraction of that price to Fulham.
Yeah.
Cedric Keeper to West Brom, centre half. Striker Joe Gayhart to Leeds. Jamal Lowe to Swansea. Attacker Josh Windass to Sheffield Wednesday. Fullback Nathan Byrne moved to Derby on Friday. He came on. Did you see this? He came on at half time against Reading yesterday for Derby, and no one announced it in the stadium or the fourth official with the board. They realised about. I guess 10 minutes.
Did they take anybody
on? They have 12 players on.
So I think the sub actually happened. They just didn't formally announce it. The referee eventually figured it out. They re-announced the substitution, but booked Nathan Byrne, for like an administrative error, which it seems a little bit unfair.
I love that.
Anyway, so that was some interesting asides on Nathan Byrne. And their captain, Sam Morsey, joined Borough also on Friday.
It's the definition of a fire sale, isn't it?
Fire sale, isn't it?
And they went. I mean, Kiefer Moore went for less. Talk about Downs. I mean, Kiefer Moore went for less than 2, didn't he, or something around about something like that? International striker.
Sorry, Paul Cook was talking about it, wasn't he? Saying that.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, they had bids in from Cardiff, Stoke, and he went through a list of players, teams that they had bids in for, and as you say, it was like 1.6 million, and he was comparing it to Tony. Yeah, Tony's gone for 5 to 10 million. Going from League One to Championship. Well, as Kiefer Roberto Francisco Moore's an international and doing well in international.
Kiefer Sutherland Dudley Moore.
He's doing well.
That's got to be heartbreaking. Yeah,
and only one starter, Kai Naismith, remains from the team which drew with Fulham on the final day, 1-1.
Incredible.
And he obviously, I think he played today, didn't he? He was the centre back number 7. I think he could play all over the place. He'll end up playing every position when he Naismith.
Looked like a bouncer, didn't he?
So I guess important context for the match, but nevertheless, as Joe I think has said, and I'm sure we've all used the cliche before, you can only play what's in front of you. So let's talk about Ipswich's lineup. I think Joe called it pretty much. You guys last week, I think Joe kind of said you kind of plan the team for Wigan and you treat Arsenal accordingly. So not many changes from the Bristol game, apart from more injuries, Dave.
I mean, I think we were doing just. I know we've done 12. It's already been done by the guys on the live show, but I'm a bit surprised that just how many changes we didn't make against Arsenal. I mean, I think there was just 3. Was there? I mean, it was the whole core of the side from Saturday, wasn't it? Which did surprise me.
Yeah, Ward played, didn't he? I think. I've
been
away all
week.
Did
play. Kenlock played.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and Cornell was in goal. But yeah, it was pretty much the core of the side from the Bristol Rovers game, which
you'll have
surprised
to forgive me because I've been away in Norfolk all week. And So it's like if the EFL trophy's a tree in the wood, it fell down. I didn't hear it. So I know the score though. But more injuries, guys, before we even get started here. So Wolfenden missed out due to a training injury, and Darby gets a dead leg against Arsenal. And Jack Lancaster, poor guy, got concussed in training.
Was it concussion? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think that was a precaution. I think he got a bump, according to Lambert. I mean,
unlucky.
We've got Shall I come? We've got a question on this. So let's not dwell on the injuries, but there's something going on there. Anyway. Holy starts in goal. We've got Stephen Ward, Enciala, Wilson comes in for Wolfenden and Chambers at the back 4. Bishop, Dazelle, Nolan, The Holy Trinity in central midfield: Sears, Drinan, and Judge. Notable things on the bench: Danastian returns, but otherwise it's it's scant pickings there. For Wigan, some points of note: Joe Garner, ex Town striker, captain for the day. I don't know if he's captain for forever or it was a special treat for him. New boss John Sheridan, who I think came in on Friday. I don't know whether that was a thing that he did. Gary Roberts, Leicester spotted Gary Roberts, 36 years old. That gives hope to, all of us a little bit, maybe, that it's not too late.
One of us, Rich, probably.
Well, I've literally just turned 37, so I missed out. Pat Webber, do you remember Pat Webber? Centre back, left back.
Yeah. Played against Palace, didn't he, in that game where we played the under 18s? I think he played in that.
Under 21s All Stars at Palace. Yeah, maybe that's where they spotted Downs for the first time. He's on the bench. He hasn't made a competitive start yet, but he's got a good chance now, given they are, to coin Harry Redknapp's phrase, down to the bare bones. I'm going to kind of avoid kind of going through the match in kind of in minutiae, in minute detail, but I guess I wanted to dwell on two things, guys, really, the kind of two ends of the pitch, and kind of how things worked out, because it was a bit of a slow start. I think Wigan probably the better team. Let's start with this defending, guys, because 7th minute and 14th minute, this huge centre back, Emeka Oba, Obi, sorry, just has two headers twice. Totally unmarked. I couldn't really figure out. I put this on Twitter. Is this just, Garner has an overhead kick later on in the half as well, hits the bar. There's a little bit of shenanigans from set pieces in the second half too. Is this organisation? Is this how we're set up? Are we still doing this weird zonal marking? Can anyone put a finger on this? Because we do better teams pick us off maybe today?
Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
That first header from Obi, nobody was marking him, were they? There was a little clump of them just inside the 18 yards. Right? Two of ours. There was 2 of ours and 3 of theirs.
All watching again.
Our 2 decided to mark the shorter of the 3.
Yes.
And leave the 6'6" guy, to wander in by himself. So yeah, that's an organisation. Whether we didn't have enough players available to mark everyone because they were zonally marking the edge of the 6-yard box, we seem to have some sort of hybrid version of it, don't we? I think
you're right. I think Garner took most people's attention because we know he's pretty. I mean, if those chances have fallen to him, you're 2-0 down because he's deadly in the air. He's very good in the air. We always said he punches above his height for his size. He's very good in the air. But I mean, they were glaring misses, weren't they? Really were.
Yeah, and we kind of joked about on the WhatsApp group. Maybe we are leaving him unmarked because he's useless in front of goal.
Yeah,
But this was an issue last season we talked about, and I remember Rotherham away, our corners, and the goal one of the goals they scored, I think was it Richard Wood's goal. We just never really sorted out our defensive shape last season, and this appears to be a hangover. We're going to talk about the positives, which is how well we played, and the passing, getting in behind, that we did do today. But this needs to be sorted out, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know how you sort it out. And there's a question about, this is our second string defence. Does that, play a part as well? But is this team going to finish in the playoffs if it can't defend, if it can't mark up from set pieces?
No.
Or should we just concentrate on scoring more goals the other side? I think that's Joe's theory, isn't it? The Joe Royal approach.
Yeah, but as Joe says, that we don't actually concede that many goals in the whole scheme of things, do we? The defensive side of things isn't as much of an issue as the attacking side of things. But as you say, because we had 2 centre halves that aren't normally paired together and aren't the most vocal, are they? From what I can tell, neither Wilson or NCR are particularly shouty, are they? Whereas Chambers and Ward are. Because you've got all your defenders strung along the 6-yard box, there's no one pointing out further out in the box that nobody's marking it. I don't know who was responsible for.
We always just look so static from set plays. Every time, even in the second half, when they got corners, set plays, you think, here it comes, we're going to concede because someone's going to be unmarked. We just look just static, I think. And I think you're right, Craig. It's just Chambers is playing. Chambers is captain. Chambers can surely see along the line, for goodness sake. I'm not saying it's in any way his fault by any means, but it's just, I think, just general poor communication and poor organisation.
What role does Holy have here, guys?
Well,
because he doesn't feel like he's much of a talker. Could he help? I mean, could he come for some of these crosses, for example?
Again, I think he's too static. I thought last season for his size, again, he's just for me, he's just too static. He's like that, some are good delivery, man. I think the Gary Roberts corner was a good delivery. I mean, the second delivery from the right was also pretty good balls in, but yeah, worrying because one of those go. Well, first one goes in, you're 1-0 down, different complexion on the game.
Crowd turns, cardboard cutouts.
The
cardboard is turned round.
Morrissey starts getting the arse.
That was the 7th minute, and Wigan, probably Sheridan's kind of G'd him up and kind of said, no, everything's going against us. We've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And they score that goal, and as you say, Craig, the complexion of the game could have been very, very different. Fortunately, as things tend to do for us at the start of the campaign, at least. They went with us. And 11th minute, guys, let's talk about our positive attacking play. We've got a question from Mullet about Ward, so let's not go too big into how great Stephen Ward was and this partnership with Steers, which I'm going to ask you about in a sec. But lovely goal here, 11th minute, isn't it? I mean, quick thinking by Ward and Steers, that partnership, as he said, doing really well. But it's Obi. I think it is.
Obi has a mare, doesn't he? Obi hasn't.
And clears it to Bishop. But this goal is made from quick thinking, isn't it? And players willing to run in behind.
Very good. I think it's very good from Sears. Sears is aware, isn't he? And Sears almost invites the ball, doesn't he? Invites the quick pass. And poor old Obi, just gets a little bit on it. It wasn't the most. I mean, so Sears not naturally left-footed. It wasn't the greatest of balls, but in the right area. And our Bishop finishes it really well, considering he controls it really nicely.
It's a lovely instinctive header, and he had no time at all to do anything. Just reacts and just directs it into. I don't know who had the Teddy Bishop header as being the first league goal of the season.
I mean, that's his first goal since Bournemouth away.
Ever goal.
Second goal, and it's been 6 years almost. Well,
Bournemouth away.
Since Bournemouth away. I mean, that was a tidy goal as well. I mean, Lambert said, and I think Bishop said in the post-match, that he's got to add goals to his game. If he stays fit and can get 5-7 goals, I mean, he could be a really, we say this every year, don't we? But
if Bishop stays fit right through the season, he could be one of the top players in the division. He's that good, isn't he? If you'd want him to fulfil his potential, he's not. What was he now? 20, must be 25, is he? 25 must be.
That's all right.
Around about then. If he stays fit and has a good season, he's going to be. Yeah, if he stays fit and has a good season, we'll have a good season.
And you're saying about, Rich, saying about quick free kicks. We did it all match, didn't we? We were getting the ball down, and they highlighted it on the commentary.
Mentioned it, didn't they?
Obviously something we worked on.
Something
I'm not so keen on is Sears' little floaty ones from the edge of the area.
He had 2 of those as well, didn't he?
To get 2 of them as well, right.
You got judged there.
Well, it was like a crossbar challenge. I thought he's on it. The crossbar just float on the bar.
There's no pace on him, is it? The goalkeeper just wandered across the corner if it was anywhere near the goal.
The first one, crossbar challenge.
The first one at the South Stand then was just crying out for it to be laid sideways
to lash
it, wasn't it?
Ward has that on his left foot, yeah.
But the 3 that could have, if Downs ends up going, and I think again you guys might have talked about it last week. This combination, this trio of midfielders, kind of is strangely complementary because Bishop is quite happy to maraud and run forward with the ball. Nyland can go box to box, and Dazell's quite happy to sit, isn't he, as well? Dazell's. I think Lee Hendry was the co-commentator, mentioned that Dazell was man-marked in the second half, and that maybe stifled just a little bit.
It was a lot quieter second half.
First half, Dazell is pinging these balls out, particularly out wide to the left. There's a chance 28.
It's got that lovely sort of disguise ball where all of a sudden he'll just play that, and it seems an easy ball, but it's not. He'll just see that ball, and it's almost a straight ball, but he sort of, drops his shoulder and put it in. What? Hang on, where that?
Yeah,
he plays in different areas. Sorry,
he feigns to play it wide and just.
Yeah, it's It's almost a no eyes ball, isn't it? No eyes.
Yeah. He's lovely.
Technically, love it. And I said all along, hopefully now cement his place in the side, get a run in the side, because again, him and Bishop stays fit, Dazell stays fit, a run in the side. If they, we'll be doing well because we'll be doing well if they're doing well, definitely.
In terms of Dazell, you've just got to take the good with the bad, though, haven't you? He is going to let players run past him.
Naive, I think.
Yeah, he's going to let players run past him into
and that
the
will
box.
drive Lambert crazy.
But you're not going to. you're not going to have a player at this level who's playing passes like we just spoke about, but he's also following his man and making, you've almost got tackles.
You're right. You've almost got to.
You're not going to have it.
Indulge him.
Yeah.
Yep. But even Nolan, we've talked about Enciala, I think last week, needing confidence. Nolan started Bristol Rovers really shakily, but grew into that game. Yeah, and what about his running though, Dave?
Yeah,
cuts into the box, I think, and quit. It's the one where Bishop's side foot shot that the keeper palms the post comes from Nolan dashing into the box, isn't it?
Yeah, technically, and that's a nice little liar from Drinan, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Drinan laid it back into.
It was a shame, with Drinan, wasn't it? And what was I missed this as well. Just a strainer pull. What's he done?
I don't think Lambert revealed too much about it full time. I was looking for that as well. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I thought he led the line pretty well again.
Yeah, well, I was gonna come on to this as well because we haven't got a question about it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the chances as well. Sears has this effort, 40 minutes. Again, it starts from the Dzell crossfield pass. Judge back heel.
That's a hell of a.
Sears probably needs to pull it back for Drinan, who's unmarked in the penalty spot. 100%. But what a great move that was. And we didn't see Wilson has a chance where the ball glances off his boot rather than him putting through it.
He's never scored a professional goal.
No, that's what they said. Never scored.
Who's that? Wilson?
He must have played. I don't know. So he must have played 200 games, surely, hasn't he? I'm not sure. Must have done. Yeah, never scored a professional goal. That's what they said. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I thought, hey, what? Surely a big lad from a corner. He must have knocked from a corner.
There you go. I mean, there's your evidence right there. That was a.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah,
I wasn't going to say sitter territory, but
I sort his feet out.
I don't know why I was so surprised having seen that.
It's not so far off. But the second goal, which came at a really good time because I think Wigan had got a little bit of confidence. We were probably sitting back, which was the tendency we had last season when we won a few games early doors 1-0. Burton particularly was quite an interesting kind of parallel there where we take the lead, dominate the first half and then maybe sit back a little bit. But, the second goal comes from Nolan being playing in Judge, who's got in behind his man. It's a lovely cross back in and Norwood and Edwards kind of conspire to get the ball in the back of the net. But getting in behind guys and Judge, I think Judge had a up and down game today, but are we starting to see these Harry from Bath covalent bonds?
Harry from Bath combos. Yeah, that was clever, wasn't it? Clever from Nolan.
Is the system working for us?
It was such a simple pass. It seems to be, doesn't it? Again, I think, as you alluded to, Rich, I think we've got to take into consideration the opposition slightly. Although I thought Wigan, considering, and they said in the commentary, acquitted themselves really well, for goodness sake, I think really well.
I think Wigan will see a few results like that in the next 2 or 3 weeks, just while they get used to each other. There'll be a few 1-0, 2-0 defeats, so I wouldn't be surprised. They didn't really have much up top, did they? And they'll always, poor old Obi didn't have the greatest of games at the back, so there's a few gaps at the back. So I think you'll see a few 1-0, 2-0s.
Garner was a bit unlucky when he first started. Fantastic. How good was that? Still scorer one of the best goals I've ever seen. That playoff goal, still one of the best, I think.
The
domestic football I've ever seen. What a goal!
And in that match as well, yeah. You're saying about covalent bonds. Obviously, I think the reason why Judge was over on that left-hand side because he was offering zero protection to Chambers on the right-hand side, wasn't he? Second half, everything was coming down their left-hand side, wasn't it? And
that Edwards substitution.
I'd have made round watching it, and we called it 5 minutes before, saying, "Bloody hell, he's getting nothing, no protection whatsoever." Yeah. Edwards comes on, and all of a sudden, I think the first thing Edwards did was chase back into the box and get a tackle. And you think, well, thank God for that.
I must admit, I've got a lot of time for Edwards. I like his directness, and I think he's got a big part to play this season. Hopefully,
fits in the box, didn't he?
Well, yeah. So let me just focus briefly before we go into the questions about Drinan, Norwood, and this system, because I think everyone agrees that Drinan had an excellent first half. I think he was taken off. I think Lambert said he wanted to continue, but as a precaution, he took him off.
Yeah, fair enough.
But is Drinan more suited to that lone striker role than Norwood, or is Norwood still getting up to speed? Because I just felt it didn't really stick with Norwood up front, and I don't think he's unselfish as much as Drinan is to make the runs into the channels, maybe to get the ball and bring other people into it. Or am I being overly critical, as I say, because Norwood's just come back from a serious injury and is getting up to speed.
I don't think you are. I think Norwood likes to play between the lines of the box, doesn't he? Hence, 30 odd goals for Tranmere a couple of seasons ago and last season. I think Drinan is perhaps, not selfish is not the right word, but we'll be more inclined to make those runs wide and and bring other players and bring other players in. Yeah.
I'm not. He was saying about Norwood getting up to speed. I think personally, I'm just willing to not give everyone a free pass for the first month or so, but just because it's just been a bizarre pre-season, hasn't it? It's just been a bizarre lead into the season for everyone. I think let's give everyone 3 or 4 matches just to find their feet again and see where we're at. And if Norwood's still playing the same as he is, and Drinan's still playing the same as he is in 3 or 4 matches' time, then Drinan will certainly be deserving the shirt.
Yeah.
So, Craig, in terms of this formation, so it feels like we're going to stick with this 4-3-3 now. In terms of hierarchy of players who can play in that lone position, we're not going to try and squeeze Jackson or Drinan out into one of the wide roles because we've got options there anyway. We don't need to do that. Who is your number one pick for, assuming we've got no injury issues? Who starts against Bristol Rovers next week? Is it Drinan again? Doesn't feel like he's done anything to
No,
to
it
lose
doesn't.
out.
No. I think you're probably right. He's fit, isn't he? At least we know he's injuries aside, he's match fit. Obviously, he'll get a knock around about lunchtime, but for the time being, he's match fit. I'd like to see. I know Hawkins hasn't had many minutes, and from all accounts, he's ideally suited to that role. He's
attributes, hasn't he?
Yeah, he is like a typical unselfish fulcrum for a target man to lay it off and just get other people involved and allow midfielders to get up and support and things like that. But God knows when we'll get a chance to see him play a league match. He may well play during the week.
Dave, who's your pick?
Yeah, I agree. I think if he's fit, you go with Drinan. I didn't think he did a lot. If Lambert's practicing what he's preaching and saying, the ones in possession of the shirt, if they're doing the business, well, it's up to someone else to come and take the shirt away from them. So, I'd go with Drinan again. I don't think he did a lot wrong. He did. I thought he played quite well first half. I think if he's fit, stick with him. Be interesting to see what happens. I mean, there is a game midweek. Quite on face of attractive game at home to Fulham in the Carabao Cup. You'd think Hawkins. I'd like Craig said. I thought Hawkins would certainly get a start probably. But no, I'd go with Drinan again. I haven't got any problem with that.
Stuff. Well, one stat to finish on before we go into the questions, guys. That is our first win on Sky since MK Dons away in 2015. 16 games have passed since then. So, do you believe the hoodoo is over, or is this just a blip?
Well, we're not going to be on Sky again for another year, are we? So
that's true.
We can be unbeaten on Sky for a year.
First world problems, eh?
That has got to be the lot. I'd love to know. Someone stat will know. The longest winless Sky run, 16 games. It is
pretty useless,
incredible, really, isn't it?
And on Sunday as well. I think we generally are worse on Sky on a Sunday as well. So that's an even worse stat. So good to have that monkey off our back as well.
Yeah.
Let's go through the questions. Stubbsy asks us. Well, I'm happy that we won. God knows we waited long enough for a win on Sky. We can't keep playing Nsiala though, can we? Is he actually good enough for this league? I thought he was awful. I thought Nsiala was all right today.
Nsiala's great when he attacks the ball. Absolutely brilliant.
Won a lot in the air.
As long as he's not cleaning out the attacker at the same time.
I think I made reference to this sort of last week. He's a bit like Titus was, when he sort of got time on the ball, you sort of panic. When he has to do things sort of reasonably instinctively or attack the ball, he's absolutely fine. I don't like the goalkeeper. I don't like him receiving the ball anywhere near our box. That's for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
There's a few moments where.
I've got an answer to one of the other questions that maybe will come out later that will interject quite nicely with that. But there was a particular point today when Wilson pinged it out from the second half, and the commentator said it was Hoddle. Christ
Stop
almighty,
it right now.
As comparisons go.
Stop it.
Was that up there with Ron Atkinson's calling Naylor Pushkas? Was it Pushkas or The playoff final.
I think it's something like that, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was for the drag back, wasn't it? Yeah. It was. Yeah, I heard that. My God. Yeah.
Are we down on NCR, or are we okay with him staying put in the team for now?
He's all right if he keeps it simple, isn't he?
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. And
I mean, what we say. See, there's a conundrum here. When Wolferden's fit, and when Vincent Young is fit, goodness knows, hopefully sooner rather than later. Who do you pair? Wolferden presumably is going to play. Who do you pair him with?
Go on, Craig.
I don't know. Yeah, well, I'd move Chambers. Chambers inside, and you've got to play Vincent Young. I think Chambers has played really well. I think the last couple of games in that position.
I agree.
And he's been getting up and down the pitch. That the ball we're talking about Wilson playing, he played it to Chambers, who was 60, 70 yards up the pitch on the other side of the.
So I think there's a real answer to that. When everybody's fit, I still think, I know a lot of people will be shouting me down, but I still think you're right, Wolferden and having that experienced Chambers alongside him.
I think we haven't had Vincent Young and a fit Vincent Young for so long. We forget just how brilliant he was for those 3 matches.
I mean, he was so good. He was so good, wasn't he? That you sort of worried that, Christ, if we're still top and January comes around and this guy's still playing out of his skin, someone's going to come in with like 5 million and he's gone. I know.
1.5, Dave. Come on, love.
Yeah, well, okay. With a decent fee. Sorry, what am I saying? With a decent fee. I mean, he was that good, wasn't he? It was just ridiculous. But what is his injury now? I've sort of lost track.
Achilles, isn't it?
Jesus.
I don't know. That seems. I was going to say Taco Man. I was going to lob this question in, but you've alluded to injuries, so I'll got a question on injuries. But Taco Man asks: is the fact that we kept a clean sheet without our strongest defence an encouraging sign, or a sign that we rode our luck a little bit too much?
Well, first half, certainly, I think we can say we rode our luck. First half. I mean, second half they didn't really create.
You're not going to keep a clean sheet without the opposition having chances, are you? It's a game of football. Both teams are going to have chances to score goals at some point. Whether they take them or not is limit the amount of clear-cut chances you can.
To be fair, they were fairly clear-cut, those two, though, weren't they? They were, Christ Almighty.
Dave Gort, Craig, asked, injuries, ! He starts his tweet with. Should we be questioning the club more? Luke Wolferden and JL, help me out, guys. Thank you very much. Not able to play today because of Knox. Is the sports science adequate? Is it player preparation? Is it physiotherapy? Is it rehab? Are the players tough enough or too cautious? Could they play with niggles? Craig, I've kind of given you 2 really tough questions, haven't I?
Hospital passes, mate, I think we'll call those, will we?
This is where you prove your mettle.
But then I'm sure Paul Hurst said something similar when he joined, is that he couldn't believe the dark ages of our medical behind the scenes bits and pieces going on at Playford Road, and obviously hasn't. To me, it's the rehab is the thing. How long do our players take to get fit again once they've had an injury, and then pick up subsequent injuries when they're almost back from the injury that they took ages and ages to get back?
I think Lancaster's a tricky one because he's a young lad and obviously probably still grown, and he's had back injuries and stuff, which obviously you have to be
careful with him.
Yeah, very, very careful. But him aside, you are right. I mean, Jesus Christ, for ages, and then you find he's making good progress, and then. I know, no news from the club, and someone will raise the question about, so and so. Oh no, he's had a setback in training. He's had a setback in his rehab. And Christ, it can't be. What I noticed with Hurst right from the start when Hurst was there. Do you remember when people were coming off? Immediately. They were having stretching. They were stretching down by the dugout when they were coming off.
Yeah, having the leaning down and pulling the hamstrings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I noticed that immediately under Hurst and stuff. I just don't know, and it's not just under Lambert though. It's been going on for seasons. It was, under McCarthy, wasn't it? It seemed to be. We wouldn't just get minor injuries; they just drag. I mean, Bishop, bloody hell! He's been unlucky, but it just drag on forever, for goodness' sake. So I don't know. Are we any worse than any other? I don't know. I
think it's like Norwood. How many games did Norwood play for Tranmere? Season after season on dog shit down in non-league. He's playing 50, 60 matches each season. running around like a nutter, plays for us and gets injured in October, has an injury, has an operation, injured again in February, has an operation, still not fit 8 months later.
Well, I think
Webster McGoldrick.
The classic's McGoldrick, isn't it? The classic. I mean, Emir Hughes, although I'm not sure he had the best injury record before he came to us, but true. I mean, McGoldrick's the one, isn't he? You're not telling me that's all to do with driving 2.5 hours up the M1 or whatever he was doing. I don't know.
Someone studs in your scrotum on the halfway line, doesn't it?
Well, that would do it, to be fair. True. Yeah, that would do it. But yeah,
we think Dave's got something there, and that's something that's a bee in my bonnet as well for a while.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we're going to fix it, Harry, on the pod. Mullet, here's the question I alluded to before as well. I think of the Harry, we need to pay Harry from Bath some money using this term. Are the covalent bonds of Ward and Sears the unexpected bonus of the week? They look very good at making space and opportunities, or is it the hold-up play of drawing and allowing the midfield more time and opportunity to play? Dave?
I'm going to say a bit of both. I'm going to say
both. Yeah,
a bit of both. I think, do you know what? I think Ward could be a very shrewd signing. Could be a very, very shrewd signing, actually.
If he stays fit.
Yeah, well,
has he got a good injury record? Do we know?
Yeah, you must. I think he's played about 500 games. So I think
250 consecutive appearances.
Maybe he'll tell us how he's done it.
Yeah, so him and Sears. I mean, Sears is an intelligent footballer. We've always said that along. So I think you're naturally left-footed. Naturally left-footed experienced player like Ward is. I think he would fit in well with Sears. Sears is a clever footballer. But we said right from the start, Drinan started the season really well in possession of the shirt, and his hold-up play has been good. And you saw it on 2 or 3 occasions today, bringing the midfield in. So yeah, it certainly is a combination of both, I would say.
It's just nice to have at least one of the back 4 positions that you can hopefully just hang your hat on and don't need to worry about it the rest of the season. It's just he's going to be a left back. Just let's not worry about that. Let's worry about the other 3 positions because that one's sorted.
Yeah, I mean,
Chris Makin or David Wright. It's just a position that he'll just handle himself. Don't leave him to it.
I don't think it would be a bonus if he can contribute any of the goals at Garbett that Luke Garbett did last season, of course. But although some of those obviously were free kicks, so perhaps he'll, as you say, take possession of free kicks from Freddie, for goodness sake.
He might do well with the assists for assists, which I think is a thing.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of XG or XA. Harry Butcher, Craig. I personally think there's a really good player in Nolan. I thought he was great today. Could he really step up the season and be a key man?
Yeah, there's no reason why not. I thought he was good today, actually. And normally he really does my head in, balls my piss, shall we say, Nolan. Because he's obviously a really talented footballer. Both feet. First touch is fine. Both feet passing is fine. If he just needs to affect games more. And it's something we've said all the way along. And if this formation is now allowing him to do so and giving him a bit more freedom and a bit more confidence to do it. And as he did today, get in the box, in the first half, he drove into the box. Second half, he plays the pass forward to Judge to score the second goal. Then, and if he can chip it, as we know he can do in terms of goals. Yeah. If he can get 8-10 goals, then absolutely 100%.
Yeah, he's technically, I think, a really very good footballer. I think you're right, Craig. He just needs that, just to express himself a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, confidence boost as well.
His first touch, some of his touches today, his first touches, sublime footballer, and he's got all the attributes: strong, big. Again, important player for us potentially this season. But then I don't know. Downs doesn't go. Who does he replace in the midfield?
Yeah, that's a good shout. More questions on midfielders, guys. 2 from Chris Hodges and Giles Gooding. I'll kind of merge these together. Giles says this is Dazell's time. He made a crunching tackle in the game, which shows he's confident about his knee. I think that's the key element of his game missing for most of last season. And Chris Hodges, kind of a different angle on this one. Maybe you deal with the injury, Dave, and Craig, you deal with this bit. Do you think Dazell will get a run of games? It seems that whenever he has a poor game, he gets rotated out of the team. But Dave, good to see a confident Dazell in more ways than one.
I think it suits him. And maybe this is an example of someone like Drinan taking a little bit of the pressure off the midfield with his hold-up play and allowing people like Dazell potentially to, said it before, express himself a bit for quality footballer, especially at that level. And you can tell, I know experts, but Hendry and Alan Parrow's commentating sort of almost purring over him, that it's just his languid way and how he can sort of strike the pass long or short. I've always said he needs to be a good run in the side, and just should go from strength to strength, I'd have thought.
So Craig, to Chris's question, is he going to get that run in the side, or I forget which one of you mentioned it earlier in the pod, but is Lambert going to indulge the kind of maybe spiky nature of some of his performances?
I don't think so. No, I think he played perfectly well today, didn't he? And the thing is, as well, what his advantage is that probably of those three, he's more unique in the way that he plays. You know, you can bring on Hughes to do the box to box, either of the roles actually, Bishop or Hughes. They both, he can Bishop or Nolan. Sorry, he can do that. Whereas Dazzel's quarterback role, if we call it that, there's not many other players in that team that can do it, in that squad that can do it. And if we're going to play this way, he's going to be pretty well placed to dictate games from that position, because nobody else can. And
he needs to. He's age,
absolutely.
He's not a 17-year-old kid. All right, he had a hell of a setback with a real terrible knee injury, but he now needs to be playing and kicking on, doesn't he?
Yeah, and knowing our luck, he'll have a storming season. He's out of contract. He can leave for a nominal fee in the summer.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah. No, up the road.
Yeah,
up the road. Yeah, no, stop it. Oh Lord.
Jason's given us some observations. Less questions, more observations. No. It's just a coincidence.
Hello, sorry. Shout out to Jason.
Jason Dazelle says, I thought Andre Dazelle was 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Hola_Jace. He was a big fan of Dazzelle's range of passing. He uses the word sublime. Sears should not be taking free kicks. I think we agree with that. And this kit deserves a promotion. He's a big fan of the yellow badge. It looks nice, the kit, doesn't it? And the blue shorts.
I love it. Yeah, like it. Where do you guys stand on the away kit?
I need to see it in the flesh, I think. I don't mind it. Craig and I and Joe did a bit of a pod on it. I think it's definitely a bit more
Marmite.
But the trouble is, Zagreb, is it? Dynamo Zagreb have exactly the same. You expect the template to be borrowed and the colours to change, but it's identical, apart from obviously the badges and the sponsor. I think that's a little bit diminishes its impact a little bit, if you ask me. Craig, have you got it? Going to frame it?
No, I haven't. No. I haven't got I haven't been to collect my vouchers yet, so I should be purchasing the home one for my little boy with those. But no, it's a bit wishy-washy for me. I'm not fussed by it either way.
It does look like it's been faded in the wash, actually.
I prefer. As I said when we did the pod, I prefer it when it's finished.
The home kit's nice. The home kit is nice. I like the blue shorts as well. I always like that.
Yeah. Dan Button asks, if you had to strengthen one area of the team, where would it be and why? I'll let each of you answer that one.
I'd go probably for the wide attacking role. Sears, obviously, we know. I think Sears is ideally suited for it because he looks at it from an attacker's mentality, if you like. But I don't know how many others we've got in the squad that would also look at it from an attacker's mentality rather than a midfielder's mentality, if you like. So, if we are allowed to inflate our squad a little bit more, I'd go for a wide attacker.
We haven't really got that naturally wide left-footed player. I suppose Lancaster, would you class him as that potentially, I suppose? But I see where you're coming. From there. Somebody's naturally left-footed, which Sears isn't.
There's a question here, Dave, from Mark, who says, when will Lambo realise that Judge isn't a winger? Is that your suggestion? It's a replacement maybe for Judge?
Well, I think so, and I think he doesn't. I mean, today Craig was quite right. He doesn't really help. He doesn't really help his fullback. We've said that all along, haven't we? Certainly leaves them very, very exposed. But I'd like to see. I agree. Yeah, thinking about it. Yeah, perhaps a left-footed forward player.
But then, as you say, Lancaster's left-footed. He can do it, but we just haven't seen him
enough of it. Not since
do it enough.
First.
Yeah, exactly. If he comes back and tears it up, then
I
don't know. The squad's so big, isn't it? But does it need improving anywhere? I don't know.
Yeah.
In the dugout, maybe.
Wow, hold that thought.
You say that, bloody hell. Yeah, potentially.
Kieran Dyer. There's quite a lot of questions of a similar theme. I'm going to try and merge this. I'm going to use crowdsource a single question and try to be more articulate than I just have been in the last few seconds. We've got questions from Mark. Mark Beck. Check out his podcast, by the way. Definitely worth a look there. James Houston. I'll come back to Mikey's because I'm sure Craig is waiting to answer that one. And Scott Moore. How much do we read into the performance given the opposition? Is this something for us? I mean, Noel Baker's alluded to it as well. Didn't believe it was a decent performance. Do we read much into these wins against, Bristol Rovers without a recognised striker, Wigan, who are, in administration and potentially a couple of weeks, hopefully not, and good luck to Wigan, obviously. But in a difficult situation, do we read much into this yet? Can Lambert feel like he's safe yet, Craig, after these two performances, or do we just, we just need to keep beating these teams, don't we?
Exactly that. Crikey, I'd have settled for a 3-0 and a 2-0 for the first two matches of the season, regardless of who we were playing. Let's worry about it when we need to worry about it. 6 games in, once we've started playing a few more teams. The proof will be, and I was saying it earlier actually when I was chatting to one of the guys I was with this afternoon, when we start playing some of the teams that we think will be in and around us at the top of the division. It was a problem last year, wasn't it? That's what stuffed us up. We didn't beat anybody that was eventually up that.
I think we looked last week and we thought that the first big sort of real test of those sort of teams, Craig, was going to be Charlton at home, which I think is 10th. I've written it down somewhere. 10th of October, I think it is. So about 6 games in, I think. That's what we thought last week. You're looking at the fixtures, thinking, okay, that would be looking at the first 4 or 5. Okay, Bristol Rovers away, Rochdale, MK Dons. You think, okay, we should be all right. But Charlton at home, I think, is coming up early. So it is 10th of October.
But even Charlton's at home, though, isn't it?
Well, it is.
Charlton at home, Accrington at home. It's not until you play Lincoln away. I think Lincoln could be a bit of a dark horse this.
Yeah, they're saying the roundup. We'll come on to these teams and have a chat about those. I think it's a good shout, Craig. Yeah. Mark's questions about the rotation. I think we might have dealt with that about between Arsenal and today, but that's a good question. Adam Fajani, Dommy Boy 79. How would you compare the season's opening day to last year's? Who went to Burton? I did. I can deal with this question. Can I answer a question, guys? I'm going to answer a question. I'm the host. I can do whatever the hell I want. Moderately more fluid and definitely sustained our attacking intent for a much longer time than Burton. It kind of felt that we were going to concede away at Burton last season, and we had kind of the early Obi's chances, and maybe the kind of threat kind of flipped around a bit. It didn't feel like Wigan were going to sustain anything apart from us making a mistake, and our attacking play, I think, was more coherent than it was at Burton. And as it turns out, Lambert has suggested that the 4-4-2 was used successfully at Burton, and for a few weeks afterwards was rather an accident rather than a design. So I think
it fell into his lap, didn't it? It was very embryonic at that stage, just fell into his lap, and we thought we'd carry on playing it because it was working. Well, that fills me full of confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. This is working. Let's try that.
Oops. How did that happen? Proves that a lot of the suspicions that maybe people have of Lambert. I'm going to end on this one purely because I've got the right people to ask the question too. Our own Mikey Penty Smith. If that performance was a Potmaster score, what would it be?
What's the point giving? He doesn't know what he's talking. He doesn't know what the answer would be. If he gave an answer, he wouldn't know what it relates to in any case, would he? A solid 21, I reckon, Dave.
I'd say around 21. I think it probably someone's chosen poorly on the 6 pointers. I think. So
two of the 3 out of 3 and 10, I reckon.
21
is unspectacular.
2 of the 3 and 10. Well, you were. By the way, Did I see you were a 39er on Friday?
Yes,
come on.
I did actually. I managed to get myself a 39 and a 2 in 2 of the 3. Yeah. Thankfully, my Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Who was the 3 and 10?
Who was the 3 and 10? Now you're asking me. I can't.
Oh, we're digressing terribly. Rich is straining at least to get back control. To get back control with this broadcast.
We've got a Podmaster podcast spin-off that it's been mooted for a while in the WhatsApp group. So if you want to hear more, at BIM75, I'm sure Craig will regale you with all of the blow by blow of his Popmaster round last week.
You just see over Craig's left shoulder. There's a picture, I think, of Ken Bruce.
Ken Bruce, isn't it?
Yeah. Ken Bruce, I'm sure. Yeah, sure. Oh, here we go. There you go.
Popmaster Quizbook. I literally thought he was going to find a picture of Ken Bruce behind. Never mind.
There you go.
Yeah, so there you go, Mikey. You're 21, but probably beforehand they were crowing that they were going to get over 30 or something like that. I'm going to get 36. Let's do the roundup, guys. Great questions. Apologies if we didn't have time to read all of them, but some really good stuff there. I guess a few important ones to mention. Accrington 2, Peterborough 0. Some excellent goals from Accrington. For you fans of XG, low XG scorers here, and they look quite harsh on Peterborough. But Dion Charles, I think the first one was a
lovely volley, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then
second goal. Wow.
Yeah, is it a Wacky? I think.
Wacky
from Chelsea.
Yeah.
So a hat trick, didn't he, during the week?
Yeah, in the cup.
They hammered Leeds, didn't they?
Yeah. So interesting start for Peterborough there. Let's start life without Ivan Toney. Crewe Charlton 2-0 to Charlton. The kind of clash of the relegated Championship versus promoted League Two. Feel free to chip in if anything interesting or anything exciting grabs your attention. Donny 1, MK 1, Fleetwood 2, Burton 1. This game was temporarily halted by locals lobbing apples over the stand onto the pitch.
Yeah.
But Paddy Madden, who I think was their leading scorer last season, came back.
The people out there have got something about throwing bits and pieces, because when I was up there, we were up there, weren't we, Rich, watching the Fleetwood away match. I was sitting outside the ground after the match, tucking into it wasn't a rag pudding, it was a steak and kidney pudding and chips. And there was a group of kids, I reckon they must have been about 8-10 years old, a group of them, throwing stones at one of the Ipswich Town minibuses after the match. Really? So they're obviously getting their something in the water about throwing stuff around.
That's the entertainment in Fleetwood. Do we think Fleetwood are going to be a challenger, guys? Yeah, there or thereabouts.
I would have thought they'd be up there again.
In and around.
Yeah.
Gillingham 0, Hull 2. Hull, I think, probably will be.
Yeah.
Will they be the next Ipswich and flatter to deceive or not?
Let's hope so.
Lincoln
Josh
2.
Emmanuel was breaking in the box, wasn't he? For
he
one of the goals.
He was indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, so Lincoln, I've written here, Craig, Lincoln, dark horses under Michael Appleton, 2-0 victors over Oxford. Carl Robinson signs a 4-year deal. Is this the end of Carl Robinson and Oxford's challenge, having lost in the playoffs?
They had like 7 or 8 new signings, didn't they, in their first 11, I think, Lincoln as well. But it just seems to be. I've listened to a few of the pods, the League One pods, saying that if Appleton can get these people drilled, he'll turn him into a very, very decent outfit.
Plymouth, Northampton 2, Wimbledon 2, not much to chat about there. Plymouth 1, Blackpool 0. I've also got Argyle as dark horses, Ryan Lowe. I think there's a little bit of momentum that Plymouth might bring into the season if they start well. 1-0 win over Blackpool, also under new management. And then flipping the questions around from dark horses to do well to managerial sackings, potentially. Pompey 0, Shrewsbury 0. Jacket under pressure last season. That's not a great start for Pompey. Sunderland 1, Bristol Rovers 1. Jacket and Parkinson and Lambert, 2, 3, if you include us as well, underachieving teams, arguably. Are these the managers that might be getting their P45s first?
I think Jacket was probably lucky there wasn't any fans in the
I think so.
Rampart. I don't think they're particularly happy with him, are they, down there?
No.
That one's been in the post. And top of the league, the early pace setters, Swindon 3, Rochdale 1. Swindon 3-0 up at half time. And conceded a 93rd minute consolation goal. Otherwise, they would have been well clear at the top. That's your roundup, guys. Next up for Ipswich, Fulham in the Carabao Cup. Bristol Rovers in the league. A quick revenge opportunity for Bristol Rovers after their defeat in the Carabao Cup against us last week. 2 home games. Predictions, guys. Either lineups or score lines, whichever you want to mention.
Well, certainly Fulham. I'm sure we'll see a much changed Fulham lineup from from there when they played Arsenal yesterday. So I'm sure we'll see a much changed Fulham, and I think there'll be changes. I wouldn't be surprised. It seems that Cornell, I'd have thought Cornell will be in goal, and I wouldn't be surprised. We said earlier Hawkins perhaps plays again, and so some changes there. I would certainly think.
Yeah, we're going to lose to Fulham.
Yeah.
Okay. Bristol Rovers, they're a little bit more optimistic. Hashtag winnable. Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. And the team they played against Sunderland is pretty much the same team that played against us, wasn't it? Give or take two
or three
players.
Yeah. So that puts into context people were saying, they had no one. Well, okay, I think they did sign a forward. They have signed a forward now. I think so, Hanlon, is it? Hanlon. So expect a harder game, I would have thought, but
probably pretty much the same team that started today. You'd think, obviously, taking into account the last-minute knocks in training on Thursday, taking out another couple of players.
Someone gets knocked out.
Yeah.
Well, we should see. Well, we've got plenty of stuff coming up to cover all of those matches. Our live shows return after Fulham post-match. I think that'll be Ben and one other. I don't know who that is, but those I think have gone down well. Still trying to find our feet doing that kind of stuff. So do let us know if there's anything we can do to make those better. The main show, the main pod, is back as always to cover Bristol Rovers. That I think will be me in the hot seat with Joe, and I think Seb might make his first appearance of the season. So subscribe. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Bebo, MySpace. Friends Reunited. You can find us at Blue Monday ITFC Twitter. Guys, where can we find you on Twitter if you want to just plug that?
At David Diamond 3.
Fims75.
Excellent stuff. And you can find me at Ipswich. That is it, guys. That is our show. 2 wins out of 2 in the games that matter. Long may that continue, eh? No goals conceded either. 100% home record. Winning on Sky. Careful what you wish for, eh? If that's what Mikey would say.
100 goals and 100 points. Here we come.